So the Fool always makes any reading really interesting because it's this mercurial, ineffable facet of existence that's always one step ahead of you. It cannot be pinned down. The essence of the Fool is in its lack of essence. It is something that is beyond the containers of logic and reason and symbols and understanding. It's something so fundamental that it actually cannot be labeled. It can only be gestured towards. So I love when the reading starts with the Fool at the center card because it automatically creates a very existential perspective on all the other energies that come into play. It forces us to confront the unknown and the fundamental absurdity hiding under things, and how that fundamental absurdity actually carries divine gifts. And the Fool is the most divine card because it's closest to how reality actually operates. So the Fool is this kind of recursive mirror that the longer you stare into it, the more infinite the reflections can be. So I hope you enjoy the reading. If you'd like to learn more about tarot, check out the Arcana Conservatory. It's my online school and community and classroom where we have dozens of students now from around the world who are geeking out about tarot. We have weekly coffee chats where we just casual calls with no agenda, where we get to meet each other and get to know each other. And then I'm doing weekly challenges where I'm helping to guide you towards your own understandings of the cards that you generate from the inside out. It's not about memorizing lists of keywords. It's about understanding that all of the cards are mirrors that you hold up to what's most important to you, and how each can function as a letter in the alphabet of all of your knowledge and wisdom to share with others. And the more you refine that alphabet, like learning an instrument or learning a language, the more you're able to express deeper truths, more beautiful reflections that are capable of creating healing experiences when you read for yourself and read for others. So please check it out. We've got the link in the description of the video and on my profile. It's all over the place. It's on the school platform, the Arcana Conservatory. Check it out. So anyway, thanks for watching, and let's get on to the reading. So the first card represents the focal point. This could be a narrow window of opportunity that's opening up for the querent. It could be an aspect of themselves that really wants to come alive to help meet the moment. It could just be the most urgent challenge amongst all of the challenges, but you got to strike while the iron is hot. So this card that this querent would be choosing randomly represents their own personal hot iron of the present moment. So we will draw the focal point, and that's the Fool. So the Fool is a very special card because it's counted among the major arcana, but it really stands alone because it is zero, which is both infinity and nothingness at the same time. It's the eternal exception to any boundaries of rules and structures. It represents a very Taoist concept of something that is untouchable. Like even when you try to use words to describe it, as soon as you use words, you've fallen short because it is beyond the reach of any description at all. It's something that's so fundamental that it refuses all labels. We can point at it indirectly, but ultimately it is beyond the reach of any conscious understanding or apprehension. It's the eternal mystery underlying everything that cannot be destroyed. It is the inevitability of existence. It is the thing that is so fundamental that it's the source of and the end of all things all at once. It's very esoteric, but expressed on a personal level, it appears as this foolish energy in the way that a Taoist priest is someone who seems kind of silly. They're just like, what's for breakfast? And they kind of wander their way through life unseriously. But there's a deep wisdom behind that. If you've ever read the book, The Tao of Pooh, that's very much the kind of energy that the Fool is pointing towards. So on a personal level, it represents a sense of playfulness and a sense of trust. It's very silly, but also very serious in that the Fool understand something fundamental about reality. They know that there's no way to lose this game. So they trust the divine energy that brought them into existence and allow that energy to guide them wherever it may, because it knows that it's impossible to fail, it's impossible to lose, it's impossible to get lost. Everything will always be resolved and accounted for on some higher existential level. So to draw the Fool as the center card for this querent, I would say that they've started to take life a little too seriously at a fundamental level. They're very concerned with the details of life, and they're very concerned with specific outcomes and questions that need resolving, broken things that need fixing, challenges that need overcoming, injustices that need to be righted. They're immersed in the world of form and energy and see it as a very high stakes game. And a lot of times we often, after a crisis or a near death experience, there's a sense of calm that comes over us because we understand that there's something bigger at work that is bigger than our day-to-day concerns. So the Fool represents this kind of energy of, I don't have all the answers. I'm willing to meet life on its own terms and do what I can with what I have and not feel like I need to hurt myself and destroy myself in order to achieve some kind of sense of goodness or some arrival at an identity. The Fool is an unclenching. It's relaxing the tension that tries to hold on to certainty in all of its forms. The Fool is a divine Fool that embraces uncertainty and admits they don't have all the answers and allows themselves to step into a partnership with the divine strangeness of the world. So this is someone who is really invited to loosen up and to humble themselves, understanding that they don't have all the answers and things that they are certain to be true might not be the case. The Fool is this kind of enlightened sense of, I don't know, I'm not the king of the world. I don't have all the answers. I can't be in a place of ultimate responsibility for everyone and everything. I have to ultimately surrender and admit what I don't know and admit that I'm just one small piece in a larger whole. And it's that admitting that actually unifies us with the larger whole, because it wants to show us that there's a larger pattern guiding our lives in this mysterious way that no amount of science or religion can really apprehend. It's so beyond logic and reason, and it's in the realm of absurdity and foolishness, but with this divine benevolence. So to immerse oneself in the Fool and resolve the Fool energy is to arrive at a kind of new understanding of how divinity moves through our lives. And there's something this person is being invited to receive in order to get right with this Fool energy, in order to surrender themselves into a divine sense of flow, into the divine playfulness of reality. And that's receiving the Three of Swords. So swords represent the mind and the way the mind wants to chop the world into pieces to make sense of it. And we cut into the world and we cut into ourselves with this desire to reduce things down to words and labels and categories and symbols. But the truth of things is always beyond words. So Three of Swords represents a kind of betrayal. And the ultimate betrayal is the betrayal of the self, where the mind betrays the heart the heart wants something so badly, and the mind says you're not allowed to have it, or you're not being realistic. It's this inner conflict between the heart and the mind. And when we receive the Three of Swords, it's allowing this conflict to play itself out. If this were on the giving side, I would say that there has to be a active role in the war between the heart and the mind, something to solve or something to fix. But on the receiving side, there's this conflict that this person is probably clinging to get a sense of meaning. Like there has to be this grand struggle of ideals between the ideals of the mind, the ideals of the heart, this constant butting of heads on what's important in life, what is worthy, what is good, what is bad. Three of Swords is this eternal war between reason and emotion. And the more we accept it instead of picking a side and trying to act like it's something that can be solved, you let it move through you in the way of like letting emotional turmoil move through you instead of trying to fix it, because trying to fix it just holds it in place. And accepting the facts of the turmoil itself, giving it love, giving it your awareness, that allows it to dissolve and digest its way through you. So there's something that this querent is not accepting, some deep conflict of the heart and mind, butting heads. And they keep thinking that someone has to win. There has to be a final resolution. And accepting and receiving the Three of Swords is accepting that there is no resolution, that there will always be this storm within us periodically, and allowing for ambiguities, allowing for uncertainties, allowing for this kind of surrender. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? One answer can be that they both surrender, and there's a resolution of a seemingly impossible problem. So just admitting that there are certain things beyond this person's control, and welcoming in a acceptance of uncertainty, an acceptance of what was previously perceived as an unworthy sense of powerlessness, is a sense of unity. It's like what you resist persists and what you embrace dissolves. So there's an inherent paradox of investing one's personal energy in conflicts of the mind, conflicts of the heart, because they seem so real and so important. But there's a larger existential perspective that the Fool wants to create that puts it into a larger context and shows what it really is, what perceived need or desire is trying to be met. And this is someone who has probably been battling some kind of demons, either internal or external, for a long time. And there's a lot of resistance in the idea that there's whatever they're looking for is on the other side of giving up the fight, so to say, not abandoning real responsibilities, but abandoning the self-harm that comes from the attachment to certainty that is ultimately a kind of illusion. So what this person is being invited to give is the Page of Swords. So we have a new renewal of the mind. Pages represent curiosity and playfulness. They're very connected to Fool energy. So I would say that, well, in this case, the Page of Swords on the giving side is about becoming the Page of Swords. So this is someone whose mind has become their own worst enemy, and they need to see how their thoughts about themselves and their thoughts about the world are doing this violence to their heart, and they're suppressing their feelings for the sake of a implacable mental narrative that can't be satisfied. It's like someone who is so attached to their hammer that they're going around looking for nails and they see everything as a nail. And they have to see what they're really doing. And they have to embrace a kind of joy and playfulness and curiosity again. This is someone who is very concerned about some deep conflicts, and they need to wipe the slate clean and see it with fresh eyes. They need to meet the world as if for the first time. They need to indulge their curiosity and start from first principles and start with what they're actually witnessing. And the more they take on the role of the Page of Swords, someone who is unattached to outcome and is always seeking further understanding, always being a student, someone who isn't jumping to conclusions at the first chance they get. There's someone who is ready to stay in a place of receptiveness, stay in a place of learning and perceiving, and for its own sake of like, I want to take it all in. I want to understand more and grow beyond the kind of small conflicts that I've blown out of proportion. This is someone admitting that they don't have all the answers, admitting they don't have all the information, and giving themselves permission to be curious again, giving themselves permission to be a student of the world and really loosen their grip on certainty, loosen their grip on a need to be righteous, a need to be correct, and just embrace a kind of divine curiosity. The Fool represents that kind of divine curiosity where they're willing to be proven wrong. They're willing to change their mind. They're curious about what's on the other side of things. They're curious about what's around the corner. They haven't closed off possibilities through a sense of rigidity about how things ought to be. They're open to perceiving what actually is. And the larger theme that's at work, which is always interesting with the Fool at the center, is strength. So I think strength and the Fool are good companions here. Strength is all about the body and all about the physical world and our physical needs. I always like to say that the star is our mysterious angel self and strength is our very grounded monkey self. So there's very material needs, very real needs. We are all animals, whether we like it or not. We have animal needs and animal desires, and strength is about honoring those, honoring the body, basics like food, sleep, nutrition, getting outside. Strength is the touch grass card. So I think this is someone who spends too much time arguing about abstractions, and they need to make contact with the real world, and they need to do so with curiosity. And if they do, then they can let go of the internal war and open themselves up to the kind of dignity that comes from admitting what they don't know and embracing a sense of openness and possibility. So in order to do that, get yourself out in the real world, honor your body, honor your connection with your body. Don't constantly live in the world of the heart or the mind. Like, get some mud between your toes, jump in the ocean, go to the forest, whatever you need to do to ground yourself into the here and now, a sense of actual grounded presence. And that'll open up the kind of curiosity and the kind of digestion of toxic emotional and intellectual matter that on the other side of it, you get to this wholeness that comes from openness and taking power from a lack of certainty instead of taking power from certainty. I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.